Tony Blain. Okay, Tony Blain. We're having a recall election in Poway, and Tony Blain is the target of this recall. Tony Blain is the city council representative for District 2, which is North Poway, kind of the Green Valley and the farm, but also East Poway, kind of east of Espola, east of Poway High School, sort of kind of that. Tony Blain was elected in the last election. What would that be? Was it the 2024 election? I think, yeah. I think he's only been in office for like about a year or so. And he's been extremely disruptive. And he's been, trying to do quid pro quo arrangements. You support me on this and I'll support you on that, which really are violations of the law, the Brown Act and how city council members are allowed to behave. Allegedly. And so there has been a group here in Poway that is largely aligned with Mayor Steve Voss that have implemented a recall effort on Tony Blain, and they were successful on getting it on the ballot. There's been numerous recall elections here in Poway, or recall efforts in Poway, that for one reason or another never got enough signatures. Well, this one did. And so now Tony Blain is now going to be on the ballot again a year after he was elected. And I'm very curious to see how this whole thing rolls out. I am, generally speaking, well, first of all, I don't live in District 2. I live in District 3, so I can't vote on this. I'm a big fan of recalls. I like recalls just to keep politicians on their toes, because politicians want to stay in office. They want to be reelected, for any number of reasons, to the power to make transformational change in a city, or maybe the power to block change. In other cases, they want to be a servant to the community. Maybe they like the celebrity status of it. Maybe they have aspirations to move on to higher and higher political offices. And the one thing that they don't want to do is lose an election. And so that's why I think recalls are an important part of the democratic process. There were recall efforts on Gavin Newsom. And of course, the Democrats didn't like it. They thought that recall effort was unfair and was just mean-spirited. And I'm like, no way, man, bring it on. Bring on the recalls, and give the voters a chance to vote on it again. We're going to get a recall here. The question is he going to lose his opportunity? Is he going to survive? My hunch is he will not survive this. When I drive through town, I see easily 9 out of 10 signs are recall Blain rather than supporting Blain. In fact, the only signs I see supporting Blain are for his 2026 mayoral campaign, which, obviously that hasn't even begun. So keep an eye on this. I mean, I think the thing that is important is that it's finally here. It's finally on the ballot. We get a chance to vote on it, or at least the voters in District 2 will get a chance to vote on it. So this is some of the bigger news in the city of Poway. There's a lot of conflicting stories about Tony Blain, good guy, bad guy. He won an election. He obviously convinced the plurality of voters in District 2 that he was the man for the job. And by the way, he never got a majority of voters in District 2 because it was a three-way race. So it was a three-way split. I think he only ended up with like a sort of kind of like 39%, if I recall, definitely not over 50%. So even in the district election, when he was elected, over half the people voted against him. Therefore, I think he is likely going to be removed from office, because most of those people that voted for the other two candidates are going to vote against Blain in the recall. And there's going to be some people that have soured on Blain that are going to probably vote for the recall as well. So I'll do more updates on this as we go, but there are two topics here that involve the ballot. Poway recall of Tony Blain, and obviously Prop 50, which we talked about earlier, about gerrymandering